Yo, what's up, geeky people? Matt here, Geeks from the Multiverse podcast. This episode, we're going to be talking about the past year. That's right. We've been doing this for 1 year, and we're going to be talking about different topics that we've discussed over the past year, favorite moments. We're going to be talking about 2024, things that we want to do, directions, and just everything that we've done within the past year. So let's get geeky. What's up, party people? Matt here, Geeks from the Multiverse podcast. Always with me is John.
What's up, y'all?
And always Hank, who has been with us for the year too.
I know he doesn't like to speak much. He just kind of sits there, does his own thing, whatnot.
I mean, he does have his mouth open, so I guess that's one thing.
I mean, he really needs to, I think he needs to shut it because of all the flies and all that stuff. I don't know how well that's going to work out for him. But, guys, it's crazy that Matt and I have been doing this for a year now because, we talked about it in, what was it, the 20th episode that we were like, that's a pivotal moment in a podcast. If you can hit 20 episodes, you know that you're going to be making it further down the road. And then, we're looking back at the fact that we did this for a whole year so far. I mean, we're getting there, when it comes to like plays and stuff. It's crazy that both Matt and I kind of looked at the analytics of things. And it's crazy to me that Matt and I talked about this and we don't consider this an episode. But the fact that our trailer is like in the top, was it like top 5?
It's actually third.
Yeah. So the fact that our trailer, the very first thing that him and I ever recorded. Now, when him and I did this, I can remember the moment. I know we talked about it a little bit in the past, but both him and I were literally in my kitchen in Merrimack, and we're sitting there and we're like, how do we want to do this? And how well is our voices going to sound at this time? And I can tell you, both Matt and I had to do it. I couldn't even tell you how many times we had to record it. It was ridiculous for the amount of times that we sat there and like literally looked at this script. And yeah, we sounded scripted. I'm not going to lie. We were trying to make it sound as legit as possible. But the fact that it took, I think it was like 3 or 4 hours to record a minute and like 30 seconds. That's crazy.
And I mean, most of the end of that was all ad-libbed because I saw you had a bag of chips on your counter.
Yeah. I know. I remember that. I remember the fact that you were looking at the bag of chips. And you're like, oh, wait. Hold on. I want to do something right at the end. And I think what we did was we were recording it. We were trying to do it all in one take because that was the hard part. Because if you, trying to edit that and try to like, what's good, what's not good. Editing, I'm telling you, Matt's a genius, okay? Because if I was the one editing this, it would have sounded like shit, all right? It would have plain and simple. It would have sounded like crap. And at the end of the day, it's like, it's crazy that, we have our, roles and different things and how we do things. But, without him, we really couldn't really do this podcast. I'm like I said, Matt's a huge contributor to this. I'm just the guy that likes to talk a lot and ad-lib my own stuff in this. But it's just crazy that, when we looked at like all of our episodes, our very first episode was literally, and it's still the number 1 episode that has been played. Now, granted, we know that, even if you guys listen to it for like 30 seconds, it technically still counts as a play. So like whether you listen to it for, that long or listen to the whole thing, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, we would rather you listen to the whole thing and actually hopefully enjoy it. But
yes, we
do understand that if you don't like it, then okay, then it's not for you. We get that because not everyone's going to like the podcast as a whole. You know what I mean? But like at the end of the day, looking at the podcast, I couldn't tell you how many times I've walked up to people and be like, hey man, you like geek culture? You like podcast? Well, let me tell you something. I have a podcast and I would just go on, and promote this. But like, Matt's idea at the time was like, hey, let's go to Walmart, start putting things on shelves, like different business cards and seeing if like people would pick it up and be like, oh, well, that's cool. Hey, look, it's a podcast and I could go, check it out or do something like that.
That's straight up guerrilla marketing, man.
I'm just saying though, it's just funny. Like your tactics and my tactics are like two totally polar opposite. You're like, I'm just going to place it randomly. Maybe somebody can like, check it out. For me, it's more like, hey, let me talk to you. Let me, let me go and like explain what the podcast really is about, It's just crazy how we do that.
I'm not a walking up to and talking to people type of person. That's definitely not in my personality, John.
No, I mean, Matt, I've known you for a while. I mean, no, if you actually started to talk to people, I'd actually start questioning our friendship because then I'm like, why is this taking so long? Why is it that it took me years to get to the level of friendship, and then all of a sudden you're talking to a random ass stranger all of a sudden about this? I'd be like, is this Matt? Like, is there somebody I need to like talk to like get inside his mind or something? I don't know.
I mean, I was briefly talking to somebody at our church, well, my church, about the podcast, and I did give them a couple cards. So I mean, there is that.
Okay, so you are friendly enough in some ways.
Yeah, I mean, I won't get the torches and the pitchforks and start chasing them out.
Be like, come here, I want you to listen to my podcast. I'll tell you what, son. No, but I mean, I get it. I mean, it's just crazy though that looking at our list here, it's like I can't even like describe it, but basically, I mean, we talk about so many different things. That's why I said when we started this,
36 different topics.
No, I know, and like a lot of it was, like some of it might have been like continuations from that same topic, or just like I mean, the fact that I'm looking at the list and I mean, it's random. It's not even, there was no logic into our madness because at this point it was just more like, all right, what's a topic we can talk about, and like let's see where we can go with this.
Right.
Like I know one of the episodes, which is surprising to me, and it's still, I don't know what it is, but the Matrix Terminator fan theory, the one episode that I completely was like, I'm so lost in right now, is actually, what was it? I know it's like,
see, we were polar opposites on that one because one, although there is a lot of information on that, in that episode, I love that episode because the theory is really fascinating to me because it's really, the deeper you go, the better the theory becomes.
Well, I mean, it's funny. A lot of our topics that we've talked about, there has been times that we've had to stop because we could have easily gone down that same rabbit hole.
Right.
But
the Matrix Terminator episode currently, if you take out the podcast trailer, if you don't count that as an episode in the rankings right now, it currently sits at 5th in the most played top episodes. It's currently ranked 5th.
I'm just going to say it, guys. I mean, I know it's funny in the beginning, we were definitely getting a lot of plays, like through our, I would say probably, I don't know, I would say like halfway through where we were at. I mean, we're getting a lot of plays, and then I know it slowly started to kind of, slow down a little bit. There wasn't as many, plays as much as some of the other ones, but it's crazy to me that, again, it's funny that if you listen even to our first episode, like that was really what, we were kind of like trying to establish in a sense. I mean, that wasn't really like the overall podcast, kind of moment, but it was really the first moment of like, okay, well, how can we get people to listen and kind of like, engage the people in the audience in a sense? I mean, granted, because you can't see what we're doing. I mean, I can look at his ugly mug all day, but I mean, but like, it's just interesting because like, I've talked to some people and they're like, man, I really love your podcast. It's interesting, it's different. And I'm like, we try to be different. We're trying to do different things because, like I told Matt in the very beginning is like, you don't see many podcasts even talk about like serious issues. Right. So we
Right.
talk about that because we know, we're not like total experts on a lot of these things, but, we do, we're passionate about it because we do want people to realize that, we're not only just, two nerds or geeks or whatever you want to call us, doing it. We're just basically saying, hey, we're just giving you more awareness on, worldly issues. It's not really just the United States. We're talking like a worldwide issue, like bullying and addiction and, stigmas and so on and so forth. But like, those are the ones that we were like, what can we talk about in a podcast that I would say majority of people would be like, well, that's weird. But you know what? I'm going to listen to it. I'm going to see what that's, kind of all about because, our first kind of serious topic was the bullying episode, which we both had a lot to kind of contribute into that, kind of moment.
Yeah, and I think very foolishly we were like, maybe we can do it as like a 15, 20-minute PSA. And, I think we
no, it went a lot longer than that.
We both were like, yeah, we can probably just do kind of a 20, 30 minute, just a short, thing on bullying and once we kind of started recording it, it ended up being like an hour. Like
Oh yeah, I mean,
it was a full episode, and I couldn't imagine doing anything on bullying that, I don't think you can do it justice with doing 20 minutes unless you were just literally, talking about, don't bully and
well,
not going into any points. But I mean, yeah, bullying, addiction, and there's many more things that we're going to talk about, which we have a whole plan moving forward on that, which we'll get to later on.
right, and I mean, a lot of the, kind of like what Matt was just saying about like some of those topics is like, if we only did those like 20, 30 minutes, it would have been kind of like that injustice for people, because I can tell you bullying in our analytics is actually one of our most played, which is surprising to me. But a lot of people, well, I wouldn't say a lot of people, but a good amount of people that were listening, there's still a amount of good plays on that, which is nice to see because especially the real reason behind bullying, it's still there, and the fact that we were talking about, our different interpretations of bullying and like, our different generations of how like, let's say bullying was for me versus Matt versus whomever else. I mean, we're just talking about two different generations, but even nowadays, it's of course it's still prominent. It's still there. It's not like it's going to go away like in a snap of a finger like Thanos, and it just disappears. But it's just again, it's one of those things that it's nice to be able to give back, and be able to talk about it because I actually had a interesting conversation. I'm not going to say who it is, but we had a good conversation about one of our future, series episodes. We won't mention it right now, but basically it was interesting to have a conversation, a real world conversation with somebody to be able to talk about certain issues that, unfortunately men, we don't like to talk about things. And, it's funny that, Matt and I, we talked about some really personal stuff with bullying, with the addiction side of the house, with stigmas, with all these other things. And, being able to talk about it as two dudes, I'm hoping that, other guys or gals or whoever, can at least relate to that. You know what I mean? Because like at the end of the day, we're both, we're passionate about it. We're not just sitting here just blowing smoke up your ass and being like, here you go, guys. Here's
Yeah.
some bullshit we just made up, but it's real world, situations, scenarios, things like that.
Yeah, and I mean, we look, I'm looking at, the 36 different topics, and I think a big part of what we wanted to do as a podcast was not be, I guess, John, sort of trapped in this genre of like, we're only talking about comic books or movies, or, we're trapped in this like, yes, we're talking about, geek culture where it's literally just video games, movies, and comic books. Like we want to be wide open for anybody who's a geek can pop into the podcast and say, "Oh, they talked about music. They've talked about, terrible B movies. Like I love those movies. That
No, yeah, I remember those.
we've talked about, practical and digital effects. And I know, we might have to do that episode again and make it, maybe open the gates on that one a little bit more because I've heard from a few people that we could have probably opened it a little bit more.
And that's fine. I mean, and that, like I said, we're not anywhere near perfect. I mean, there's definitely episodes that we can even look back and,
Yeah.
talk about more, but
But there's like a lot of different things that we've talked about other than like, our more serious, ones like bullying and addiction that like we've tried to include where, you look at other geek culture podcasts and they're, they are kind of more genre based where it's comic books or it's movies or it's film or video games or it's, they're really typecast into this one type of geek culture
yeah, like a
thing that
like a
they're talking.
specified, topic or something that
Yeah.
they're only really focusing on. But like the one thing that I will say that, it was nice to do is like some of the holiday themes. The fact that we learned about some of the history, like Thanksgiving and like,
Thanksgiving.
Christmas
Ruining
and-
Valentine's Day was my favorite.
Oh yeah, with the wives, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Having that, and it's
Yes.
funny, guys, because we talked about having our wives on, and I think both Matt and I agree that having both of our wives on, it is an interesting time. But
Next year, I got to get another dog and a goat. I'm just putting it out there.
Why are you gonna get a dog and a goat? Oh, you're gonna sacrifice the goat and then get another dog. That's the only thing I can think of. But like, it was just interesting.
If you want to know what I'm talking about, you're gonna have to listen to that episode.
That is true. You're gonna, and trust me, that one's a good episode. Again, not with kids around. Okay, let's just hopefully with yourselves, maybe your wives or whoever. But it's interesting though. Like when we look at all the, like I said, all the different ones that we've talked about. Like one of my other favorite ones, and it wasn't a serious one, but it was an interesting topic that it's nice because it does kind of relate to when you're growing up and dealing with, let's say, kids in a generation where they don't really know the consequences of, let's say, playing certain video games or doing that, the morality with gaming. Because the reason why it was one of my favorites is because it was of course lessons that I've learned from my dad and and from others, and it's like taking that into perspective is like as gamers, as nerds, as whatever, you kind of take that for granted because of the generation you've come into, because you grew up on some of the probably the most horrific, goriest games, and you don't think about these things later on in life. But like when you're teaching, let's say, kids nowadays playing certain games, because of the effects and all the the digital effects and all these other things that happen, especially in movies and stuff, you don't think about the consequences. You don't think about all those things as as kids that we've already done. Like it doesn't affect us because we've already been like numb to it in a sense, and so like we're already a part of that generation that kind of just blows it off. But in this generation, it's more serious. You know what I mean? Because
yeah,
we've talked about that.
Yeah, and I mean that one was a good one, and it's it is a more serious topic, especially. I mean, I think as adults, you would think we would have a little bit more common sense when it comes to gaming and understanding the themes of games. But even adults, I think, need a little bit of a reminder.
No, I mean, again, we're not perfect. I mean, because at the end of the day, actually, another interesting little thing that I'm gonna take is from the conversation I had today. It was an interesting thing that this guy said was, he basically was talking with his son, and we were talking a little bit about it, but his son kind of put him in check, and it was interesting that he said that to me, and I thought to myself, like, if my son did that to me one day. Basically saying, if I did something wrong, that, you want to be accountable. You want to be a man and accept the fact that you are not as perfect as you seem. And basically saying, you can learn at any age, at any point in your life, because, I remember, it's kind of a random story, but I remember as a kid, I loved playing baseball growing up, and my brother did too. And I was like, I mean, I know a lot about baseball. I know a lot about all this stuff. And my brother, I remember this, he wanted to show me how to throw a curve. And I remember this. I don't know why. He wanted to show me how to throw a curve, and I blew him off. I basically said, "You're dumb. I don't want to learn from you." And I said that. I wouldn't say word for word, but I said something like that. And then, of course, over the years, I've thought about it from time to time. And I realized that, it can be, it's basically just a general topic, but like someone at any point of your life, whether you're young, whether you're old, whether you're whatever, not everyone knows everything. And it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter whatever, point of your life is. And if someone wants to teach you something, just listen. You know what I mean? And don't blow it off. And I mean, I learned that, and I didn't think about it for years, but like, in that moment, as a kid, I'm like, oh, who wants to listen to the little brother, or who wants to listen to somebody that's like annoying? And you know what I mean? But like, as I got older, I realized that I was like, yeah, I don't know everything. You know what I mean? There's things that in our life that we think we know things and we don't. And then we have to get a kind of that reality check.
Yeah.
In a sense. But I know it's kind of random, but I'm just saying like that kind of, I would hope that you guys at home and, kind of listening, like, if your kids ever did that to you, just, I'm not saying have them control your lives, but, if they want to, explain like why are they, I guess, calling you out on their, let's say, bullshit, just be like, okay, well, listen to it, take it in, and just, realize that maybe you are wrong. Maybe you didn't realize that that really did affect them in a certain way.
Yeah.
And, who knows? I mean, you can always learn from any moment at any time, but all right, getting back to the point though, I mean, it's just, I guess I'm just surprised, Matt, that, I mean, we've been doing this for a year. I remember, and I even remember in some of the episodes we talked about, but like the fact that you literally randomly came up to me and you were like, dude, we're going to start this podcast after so many years of talking about it. And then we just said, screw it, we're going to do it. And then it just like, here we are now, recording and doing this.
A year, it's a little bit past a year at this point, but a year into it, this is, I think right now this is episode 51, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, this is 51, but I mean, technically the next episode after this will be our new season. This will be the second season of what we're doing.
Yes.
But I mean, it's just, to me, the fact that there was, of course, some of my personal worst, I would say, episodes I ever did was the ones that Matt wanted me to do. And I really had, either I didn't have a lot of knowledge in, or he knew that I just didn't want to talk about it. One was Beetlejuice was a big one for me that I just did not personally want to talk about. And I told Matt that I had a phobia pretty much of just him and in the whole series. And of course he's like, oh, we're going to talk about it now, man. We're going to definitely do an episode. And I was like, fine, I guess I guess I'll just suck it up. And he's like, you're a 30-year-old man and you don't want to talk about literally a character that you talked about or you watched as a kid. And I'm like, I understand, man, but it's like, you watch something from, let's say, a long time ago and it gives you fears. It gives you that nightmare. Like that's what it did for me for many years. And now you want me to talk about something that I haven't thought about in years. And you're like, go ahead, just do it. Just go for it, buddy. And I'm like, I hate you, but it's just crazy that, we talked about certain things. I mean, it's funny. I'll tell you this, Matt doesn't want to do it. And he actually talked about it with his wife today. And I thought it was funny. The fact that he legit, and I'm only going to say this, Matt, because you're going to think it's funny too, is the fact that you legit wanted to tell me that you didn't want to do Harry Potter because you were like, I don't want to talk about it. And John doesn't want to talk about it either. And I'm like, wow, way to put words in my mouth. But you're making me watch something that I haven't seen. And now I'm making you do something. And you're like, I don't want to do it.
I'm just not a fan of Harry Potter. And I know that probably like everyone's like, what? But I'm just not a huge fan of Harry Potter. But you know what? If I have to watch Harry Potter and I have to talk about it,
I guess you're going to watch it, buddy.
I will sit here and I will shut my mouth and let you talk. Yeah, but I mean, we're talking about a difference of Harry Potter and John Wick. I mean,
I get it. I'm just saying, though. Yes,
there's a considerable difference between the two movies.
No, I get what you're saying, but what I'm saying is that we've talked a lot about the different ones that we've watched together, or we've done certain things or whatever. But I mean, I'm just saying, there's going to be times where if I come up with an idea and I'm like, well, if you're making me watch this, then it sounds like you're going to have to get on board too, there, buddy.
I mean, I can tell you right now, a hard sell is going to be Pokemon. It's going to be a hard sell for me. It's going to be a hard sell.
That is, I'm telling you. I mean, granted, there's a lot. There's a lot of It's like trying to watch Power Rangers. Okay, it's a lot. There's a lot.
And another hard sell will be anime. I don't know what it is. I try to watch it, but it's so hard for me to get into it.
Okay. So I will admit that it's tough for me too, buddy. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, and I know, I'm sorry, guys, if you're like, oh, I'm like, here's the thing though. I mean, we've talked multiple times between us in like, trying to get guests on. If we don't know something, we're gonna admit it, and then on top of that, we're gonna be like, listen, if you want to come on and talk about it, enlighten us. Like, I'd love to learn certain things like that, and you want to talk about it, then go for it. Because we'll do our research.
I think it would be great, but I'd love to know about it and learn about it. But I don't know. I just can't get into it. But anyway, I think for me, I mean, I'm looking at kind of the list of different things that we've talked about. And I probably would have to go, I think if I was going with a worst.
Oh, the worst one?
And I, to be honest, I like all of them.
And the fact that, hold on, but I'm going to say this, guys and gals. The fact that majority of these, like the list, I mean, we both kind of agreed upon, but there's a lot of it was coming from Matt's thoughts. So just so I'm clear here.
Yeah. If I had to pick anyone that was kind of my worst, I probably would say the DC reboot.
Wait, you want to talk about DC Elseworlds, baby? Like, you want to talk about that? I'll admit with that episode, the only reason why I can sort of agree is that, when we talked about it, we were, man, we were dishing out some trash when it came to DC,
Yes.
man. That was the only thing. Cause we talked about a lot of different things and whatnot.
even looking back to right now, when we did that episode to even right now, it's still very much well deserving of crap, because the stuff that has come out since we've done that episode is still crap.
No, I agree. The problem is like I said, if the fact that Blue Beetle is still the leading, movie moving forward, it's like, okay, so they just made the Aquaman movie recently.
It just came out on Max.
Right. I actually, ironically enough, I was trying to watch it today, but
we watched it the other night.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
So, like, there's just certain things like that DC was doing that,
Animation's weird when they're underwater. It looks
it was
really weird.
Yeah, I watched a little. I haven't watched the whole thing. I watched a little bit, but when looking at the DC, kind of world, it just kind of it made me wonder what James Gunn is really trying to accomplish here. Because at the same time, I know Matt talked about it. We were talking about in the Disney like Fox merger, right? So we were talking about how like if Marvel bought DC, and I told him, I was like, there's no fucking way that they would ever do that. I'm just telling you, there's no way that they would ever happen to make it a reality.
There's no way that would happen unless what they're planning right now is epic failure.
Well, and that's the problem. Like I said, you have to, Marvel would have to talk to Warner Brothers, or really Disney would have to talk to Warner Brothers and be like, hey, could we like make some kind of deal? And it's like, they're never going to do that because it's their competition. Plain and simple, they're not going to do that. And if they ever did agree upon it, I'd be like, what does this world come to? And how is this even going to happen? And how are they going to create, like, are they going to merge somehow together? Are they going to do like a crossover like they did in the 90s? Make that, crossover, comic book, have like Superman fight, like the Hulk and like, Cap versus like
who knows?
Batman or whatever. I'm just saying.
But to me that was kind of the worst of them. And yeah, like you said, a lot of these, if not, like all of them, were ones that like I had put into the schedule and planned out, and I've done notes for every single one of them.
Shh. Shh. Don't tell them that, man.
We don't talk about that.
Listen, let's just say season 2, I'm gonna be more contributing to what we're doing here. Okay.
My favorites, though, might be surprising to you, John, though, but it's definitely like the video game, movie, and TV adaptations. Like, I love that one.
Oh, no. I agree. Like, that was one of my other favorites, because of the fact that, man, it's funny because I know when we were playing the Super Fight, it was like that was the time we were playing Super Fight. Granted, I'm not going to mention who won that game.
Who won that one?
No, man, we're not going there. That was a long time ago. If you want to find out, you can go look at that episode. But like,
I think it was me.
Yeah, okay. King Geek bullshit. That's what I call it.
King Geek of the Week.
King Geek of the Week. No, hold on. I had that title for at least a week or so. Just saying.
Because you cheated.
Yeah, okay, cheated my ass. With those episodes, though, it's funny how there was a lot of disagreeing.
Especially with Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat has been a sore subject regarding that. But it's funny how we both debated on it, and we kind of, we said that, he was like, oh, I like the old school, and I'm like, nah, I kind of like the new school.
Agree to disagree kind of a thing, yeah. 80s and 90s cartoons was another one of my favorites, I think. I do love that one, obviously, because I'm a huge fan of 80s, more 80s cartoons than 90s cartoons, but there are some 90s cartoons that I do love. But that episode was one of my favorites. I do love the zombies and the werewolf one. I think those ones were.
Of course, I'm going to be, kind of biased on this, but I think we can both agree on that. Marvel, when we were talking about it, we were really, passionate about like all the phases, and when we were saying about 4 and 5 and so forth, that. We both were like, yeah, 4 and 5, 4 was okay. And then 5 is like, what are you doing, Disney? Like, what's going on right now? And why are you, creating the content that you're doing? Because I did finally watch the Marvels movie. I don't know if you have or not.
Yeah, I watched it a while ago.
Okay. Well, when it came on Disney Plus, I just watched it, but I was like, I can
If
understand.
if you were anything like me, I was not very thrilled at the end of the movie. It was just kind of like, eh.
No, I mean, I guess the Easter eggs were really the biggest thing for me. Like, especially what is it? Not is it Photon? The Monica Rambeau.
I believe so.
Like that one was like, okay, I really want to know what's going on there, personally. Like that's really where I was like, oh, okay, let's see this. That's just me.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, like where they intend to go because I mean, obviously that does connect to more of the the Vox X-Men
Yeah, the
pro-
kind of movies and whatnot.
property. So are they going in that direction?
Or are they just kind of leaving it as is and, kind of going with
Yeah,
interpretation?
I mean, it was great to see to see Beast and in that regards, like that was
Well,
cool.
yeah,
But
the original, technically in the Fox universe wise, but
yes,
yeah.
I mean it was cool to see that, and they made a a reference to Xavier being there and that they were on a mission or whatever.
Yeah,
But the movie as a whole, I just wasn't very thrilled about. But
no, I mean, like I said, I agree. I mean, the the movie, like I said, with all the characters, I mean, especially Kamala Khan. I'm just gonna say, like, I know when you and I played the Avengers game, like that version of Kamala Khan, that's kind of what I was hoping they would do in the like TV show and then now in the movie because they really destroyed that character when it came to the powers wise. The
that whole,
costume
I
was
mean,
fine, but like
the
the
whole
powers,
movie. I mean, the whole movie was. I mean, we've talked about it, and I'm not trying to, again, like we're not trying to, you know, just say, women should not be, main characters in movies, but I also don't think that women should be 90% of the characters in a movie either. But in this movie, I think women were 90% of the characters in this movie.
I mean, but again, Matt, I mean that's the thing about when we were talking about the movement and things of that of what's going on in our society because we're talking about how how everyone's like, okay, well, we need to have more female leads, more female driven, more this and that. But it's like at the same time, it's like I agree with you. There's things that we were talking about too about like the fact that they're in this case building the young Avengers because it's kind of being confirmed that that's exactly what they're doing, but more of a female driven kind of group. And it's like really in the comic books, it's not just females. There's males that there's a combination of the two, and it's not like
Right.
whatever. But I'm just saying at the end of the day, it's getting to the point where like, okay, well, how are you going to continue to get that same hype or that same
Right.
tenacity as like you've done before with Endgame and previously before that? But I don't know. I mean, again, Marvel's got a long way to go, and I'm hoping they can. I'm hoping.
Hoping they can write the tracks
I
here
was going to
because
say
if
that or turn it around. I mean, that's really what they need to do. But
they're
I
going to
mean,
get the train on a whole new track. But anyways, I mean, I think we've talked about kind of 2023, our favorite moments, different topics that we've kind of discussed. What about 2024, John?
oh boy. So I mean, we've done a couple episodes so far, but I mean, granted, of course, it's now leading into the next season. So I
Right.
mean, a lot of what we're trying to do now. I mean, this is where I can agree with Matt. So we kind of were like looking at how, a lot of our episodes were random. They weren't really like, we weren't going to be talking about one topic for 1 month, or we were just kind of like throwing things in there and trying to see what would work, and it, kind of have that random like mystery kind of effect. But now we're kind of more focusing on a month of like, one particular topic. Or, we might have maybe 1 month where we might have like those random, like little topics here and there, but, try to keep it more organized than we did before because, we realized that it works sometimes. And then sometimes it's like, it honestly just felt like we were pulling shit out of our ass because that's exactly what sometimes it felt like. But I mean, I hate saying it like that, but that's kind of what, we're trying to avoid at this point. We're trying to be more organized in our way of thinking and how we do certain things, especially moving forward.
Yeah. So, I mean, 2024, you'll see more of like, 1 month we'll focus on, one particular, topic. It might be Star Wars. It might be Jurassic Park. It might be John Wick. It might, it might be Marvel, it might be DC, whatever the topic is. Like we'll spend a month kind of breaking it down and talking about it in one shape, form, or manner that whole month. The next month is going to be more of kind of open, like we have been doing, where there'll be individual topics. We may do things on different movies or more of our specialized episodes, but there are going to be more of the different varieties throughout that month.
Well, and again, so like if let's say there's like new topics that that come about in like the news or something like that, we might we could randomly just be like, what, we might talk about something that's like really trending right now and like kind of moving forward from
Yeah.
that because I mean we're trying to get with I would say we're trying to get with the times, man. We're not like trying to be some old geezers like, okay, you whippersnapper, like we're not trying to be like not with it. You know what I mean? We're trying to at least try to stay as current as possible with everything we're talking about. Because I know, like in other podcasts, that a lot of their focusing, like for example, I know one that I've listened to is like the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast, whatever. Like they only talk about that, and they have like all these different like news articles that they'll talk about and things like that, and that's great. But like that's not really what we're going to just be again like focusing on. We're going to be focusing on like let's say different things that may come about because like we've talked about how I'm just going to throw Marvel out there because we've talked about it, but like the Jonathan Majors thing, like if something about, that they're moving forward and how they're going to change it, we might talk about, how they're trying to restructure and try to do different things like that. Or like, let's say Star Wars
Yeah.
or whatever franchise or whatever. Let's say,
I mean, there's new shows coming out. I mean, they did just, post a graphic, I think on Valentine's Day with the Fantastic Four,
Yep. I saw that.
cast. But there's gonna be shows coming out for Marvel. There's gonna be shows coming out for Star Wars, and so we may do episodes on those. But I think every other month you'll see more of like a theme where it'll be that month will be in particular Marvel or it'll be Star Wars. It'll be that particular theme, and we'll be breaking down different topics within that one theme. So we'll be camping out within that theme. So, like kind of like we did with Marvel, where we did the phases. If we camp out with Marvel, we may do like a character background. We may
Yeah.
talk about a TV show. We may talk about anything regarding regarding Marvel.
Well, because like, it's kind of like that. I'm trying to think of what it's called. I mean, they did it with Marvel recently, or like the last. I think it's like post Endgame kind of thing. It's like when they did the behind the scenes of like different TV shows or whatever like
Yeah.
that. Kind of do more in depth, something similar to that, but like kind of like talk about like you said, a character, or a franchise, or like the series, or like whatever the case is in that
Right.
time. But Matt, I'm gonna let you talk about this next part because this one I'll give you credit on because you did kind of lead the drive on this one. But like I'll say this, the serious episodes. Okay, so well, again, Matt kind of led this on this, but we've talked about it a little bit here and there. But we're trying to hopefully get a message across in like a statement, kind of more on like what our serious episodes are going to be more, driven towards, kind of like our goals down the road. Because Matt and I have talked about like if down the road, if we ever can get to that point, we know we would like to try to do possibly a nonprofit or something that we can give back to like the community wise in that sense. But I'll let you talk about the vision or the mission of what this is.
Yeah. So I mean, going into 2024, yes, we have our more serious episodes, and it got me thinking. Like we call them our more serious episodes, and so far, we've done. I wanted to do one on bullying. We both come from the addiction field, so those were no, we were gonna do them regardless.
I mean, no
because-
brainers, but yeah,
Yes, that's what I was going for. The words weren't
Yeah.
coming out of my mouth the right way.
it's all good.
But I was really, I was really thinking like, okay, 2024, how can we bring these episodes into 2024 and have a more guided mission other than just calling them, oh, these are our more serious episodes, because that's really stupid and foolish. Like they seem completely random. We're really passionate about, helping people and wanting people to generally get better and be better people. That's the whole purpose of us doing these, serious episodes.
Right.
And so the word that kind of came to me was evolve. And through this word, it seems really archaic, and you can, a lot of people will use it in kind of the workout world where, you have to, build yourself up and evolve into a better, physical person. But there, evolve kind of works into three different words for our purposes. And it's really evolve, adapt, and overcome. And so the mission statement that I have here for our episodes, for these episodes in particular, is to inspire, to educate, and promote positive change throughout the world and to unite all geeks far and wide.
And when Matt mentioned this to me, I kind of it was kind of like when you mentioned the whole, like the beginning of the podcast of like the name and stuff. Like, at first I was like, I don't know about Geeks from the Multiverse. It was kind of like I don't know. It sounds kind of cheesy. It kind of sounds this, but like when I kind of learned more about what he was talking about, it made a lot of sense because, if you look at it down the road, if there was a nonprofit involved regarding this, like, bullying, of course, is a big topic, but like it wouldn't just be like that main focus. It could be more based on like, serious issues. So like down the road, okay, we might start out, okay, we have, maybe partnerships with like, maybe different campaigns regarding bullying, but then we could look at, okay, well, okay, what about addiction? Okay, well, there's SAMHSA, there's, all these other organizations and so forth. So like,
Right.
we talk like we can basically, take some really major issues, again, worldwide. And basically, hopefully the goal would be to start partnering up with different organizations to kind of have more awareness to maybe, get more funding or resources, whatever the case is, but being able to, start creating a foundation, to be able to start hopefully getting it at a national or even a worldwide level. But, the other thing, like, I'd really like to see is like, that one episode we talked about before was, geek therapy, like organizations like that
Yes.
where we
Yeah.
could, we could partner maybe, depending on how they want to do it, but like partner with those kinds of, individuals to be like, hey, we have a mission of our own. You guys have a very, interesting perspective on how you do that. So why don't we partner up and, try to see what we can come up with? Are there different ways that maybe nobody else has done before, and so on and so forth. So really the whole point of Evolve is really like, we understand that of course, society changes, the world changes all the time. And, we're just trying to get with the most current, really up to date information, resources, anything that we can do to be able to, to start working on these issues and start tackling them, hopefully on a bigger scale,
Yeah, and then these more serious episodes evolve gives us that mission and vision because we do have I do have a vision statement too, which is we desire to see every person adapt to new situations, overcome any obstacle, and strive to constantly become a better version of themselves. And that's the whole purpose of evolve. And it's not necessarily like, oh, you need to become a better person overnight. It's not anything about, you know, changing yourself, you know, altogether at one time. It's about making small changes, seeing yourself being better an hour from now, tomorrow, next week. You know what I mean? It's making better choices, overcoming obstacles, adapting to those situations. And it gives us, when we do these episodes, like we're going to have one coming up this month, March, and
yeah.
we're going to have one coming up. And our podcast in itself is not changing. We're still going to be the same, the same two geeky guys. We're going to be talking about the same geeky stuff. But when we do these more serious episodes, they're going to have the title Evolve in front of them. So the graphic will have Evolve on it, and you'll see, Geeks from the Multiverse, Evolve bullying, Evolve addiction. Each of these episodes will have that mission, and it gives us that mission and vision of why we're doing these episodes instead of them just being like, well, there are more serious episodes,
More serious as we've done before.
It makes it less random, and it gives us a mission of this is why we're doing it, because we want to see people become a better version of themselves.
Right. And so when Matt was just talking about how the fact that we're not really changing, ourselves as, what I mean? Like, you can't really use the word reboot because I know we've used the word
GFTM reboot, baby.
reboot, just like DC, baby. No,
we're not rebooting.
No. We're not, like you said, rebooting, but really it's more we're basically, again, we're evolving. We're changing. That's why
we're evolving.
Yeah, we're evolving as a whole because, again, we've just told you that,
it's going to be more focused.
More focused and more, trying to do different things because, like, again, you don't want the same thing over and over and over and over and over again because I can tell you, it's going to get really freaking boring, and it's not going to be the same hype as it was before, So, like, so Matt and I, like I even mentioned to him, I said, well, what about like changing up the trailer? Maybe we change up the trailer a little bit, or, maybe down the road we can start looking at, changing, some of our graphics or like some of our things and like keeping it up with the times.
You know what I do love, and you hated it.
Okay, what did I hate?
I loved the intro I did for Far Cry.
What? I can't even. Oh, that was a long time ago, but I can't even remember what you did because I
kind of did like the villain monologue, and then you cut me off and were like, "What the heck are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm doing a villain monologue,"
I was like, "Get on with the episode," or something. Yeah,
you weren't like 100% sold on it.
I mean, I guess we got to work on that. That's all I'm going to say. We're going to have to really work on that.
But I liked the theatricalness of it. That's what I liked about it.
No, I'm just saying, like I said, guys. I mean, we we're trying to do different things because again, as people move on and they start changing in their lives and so forth. I mean, shit. I mean, you look at me. I mean, granted, at the time, when Matt and I started doing this, my wife was pregnant. I mean, I again wasn't a dad, and now I'm a dad, and Jesus, I mean, he's almost 6 months old, and it's crazy. I can't even think about that, man. It's crazy that he's almost 6 months old, but I'm just saying, like, it's crazy that now I'm a dad, and of course, Matt's his kids are pretty much out of the house and doing whatever, but like we're it's again having a different perspective now, but like that's really what makes I think our podcast unique is because we bring different perspectives at different, ages and, things that he's done versus what, I've done. And, that's why I only say about the V-Day episode is because it was interesting to, how like, both of our, let's say marriages are, how yours was in the beginning and, mine's, the way it is now. And it's like, you're looking at how the differences of, how both of, us in a sense, like have kind of changed over time. You know what I mean? Cause like Matt has known me, through some of my other relationships. That's all I'm going to say. And, I will say that I wasn't I don't know, I wouldn't say I was the man that I am today in some ways. There's definitely things that I could say that there were things that I've changed. But again, I've known Matt, of course, with Danielle. But, well, I mean, shit, they've been married, how long now? 20?
Got married in 2002.
So 22 years roughly? Yeah, okay. So so almost 20
Do you
years.
Not math well, John?
Like, well, I don't know.
I don't math well either.
I don't know. But like, you know what I mean? It's interesting to like, see from like how we started our friendship and then now like here we are now. And, just again, it's that whole concept of what we just been talking about with Evolve. It's like, we're always changing. We're always trying to get new ideas. Right. And at the end of the day, it's, we're just here trying to do our thing, and I mean, we're not going to be, like we've said, overnight successes because, I will admit that, I'm not going to say too much here, but, Matt's trying to, he's trying to go a different route here when it comes to certain successes in his life. He's trying to do different things like maybe writing a book or, different. Did I mention that? I'm sorry, Matt. No. So Matt's trying to do different things that he's never done before, which I'm proud of, I'm like, that's good. I'm glad you're taking that creativity, right? Because like again, without Matt, I mean, I could talk all day too, but then I'd be like, well, shit, where do I go from here? And I don't know where I'd be going right now. But like, with Matt like doing his salty tips, him doing like now, writing a book, doing all the things like that. It's good that he's trying to like learn and do other things, right? I mean, and now that we're talking about like, possibly a nonprofit that like way down the road and other things like that, we're trying to be more creative, more in tune with everybody, and try to be able to again, like we've talked about, like give more back to the community. And who knows, maybe like I've mentioned just now about the book, who knows if maybe one day it'll be a big success and could be right up near Endgame, the the sales and whatnot. Who knows? I mean,
That would be great.
I know it would be great because
I have to write it first, though.
no, wait. So what I'm hearing is do you want Chat GBT to start writing your book?
God, no.
Why not? I mean, everyone else is doing it.
Oh, I'm sure everybody else.
I mean, they probably are, but no. But I'd be interested though. I will say this: if your book ever did really well, okay, and they said, okay, we want to make a movie out of it. First thing out of Matt's mouth is, I want to be executive producer. I want to be the one casting people. I want to know what's going on at all times. Do you understand me?
Oh, I think I would want to be executive producer, but I wouldn't want to be the one picking people. I would want to be the one, like, obviously, I would want to make sure
The movie was actually accurate and not.
yeah, it was being done the right way, and people weren't just like writing bullshit and changing the story. 'Cause
Like,
that's
what about a flying, I don't know, a flying beaver? And you're like, what the fuck does a flying beaver have to do with the story? You're like, that's not part of my book. No, but like, I could just see it.
we
like,
want to change this character's background a little bit. No, it doesn't work.
no. Listen, you see that source material? That's the character. Get with the program.
Yeah. Go read the book and come back.
No, but I mean, I won't say anything because all I could say is that Matt, him and I, we were talking about it a little bit. I told him, I said, you're gonna, of course, lead it, but I told him, yes, that I will try to collaborate with him. So this could be a GFTM kind of, production kind of deal.
I can definitely guarantee you that once I do write it and I finish writing it, it will definitely be a GFTM novel.
You hear that? GFTM novel. Look at that. We're not only selling merch, we're selling novels, baby. We're going to be in the book game. Don't worry about that, boys and girls. Because if you like reading, guess what? We got a book for you. We're not going to tell you the title yet because it's still a work in progress. But
Well, the whole story is a work in progress.
I mean, that too. But, I mean, guys, it's crazy. Like, we love that the fact that, we still keep doing what we're doing. I mean, and it's kind of random. I'm going to say this, but I literally talked to, I think, a couple people today, and I mentioned to them, I said, the worst thing for me when starting this podcast was I hated hearing myself. I hated hearing the echo, hearing my voice all the time.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Matt, like he listens to himself and edits it. So he has to hear himself and me.
And I still hate hearing my voice.
But it's just crazy because like, I hated it. I hated hearing it. I mean, because now I've just kind of gotten used to it. It's kind of whatever now. We've been doing it for so long. It doesn't even matter. But like, when it's funny, when we've had our guest on the show, I remember Jordan coming on and, Tyler and whatnot. And, you had, one guy that kind of was like soft tone, like, okay, guys, how you doing? And the other guy's kind of, hey, how you doing? Like it was kind of a louder, like
very
monotone. Hey, how you doing? Yeah. No, I'm not trying to make fun of you guys because I know you're not here, but like, it's just funny because like, I try to give them some pointers too, but it's like,
yeah.
It's funny. Like now we're giving pointers to people that are, coming on and it's like, you have to be like right
now
next
we have
to
that
it.
experience, so now we can actually give people that.
Yeah, that advice and be like, hey,
advice,
listen, we did this a few times and I can tell you it doesn't work that way. Like you can't just, like right now my mouth is basically almost on this mic. That is how close you need to be.
Yeah.
You can't just be like, hey guys, how you doing? And it's like way back here.
I can't talk from way back here.
No, Matt, you can't talk from way back there because it doesn't help. But like, it's just crazy, guys. It's just, this podcast is still a memorable experience. I mean, I can't even think of anybody else I'd rather do it with. I know like some people might be like, well, if you two did, like, if like, let's say you split up, I'm like, well, I'm not thinking about splitting up. I'm like, what? I mean, Matt did talk about one time if I was too busy that he'd get rid of me and like have somebody else on it. I'd look at him and I said, the fuck you are, motherfucker. Like, you are not getting rid of me. I am still part of this podcast.
I think that was my first suggestion. Then I was like, well, if you were not available, then I could just record one on my own. It just wouldn't be as interesting. But
No, I'd pretty much look at you and be like, okay, guys, here's Matt from GFTM, and today we're going to talk about like just do like ASMR sounds and just do something really stupid, and I'd be like, and this is Matt, and this is his ASMR sounds, and it's going to be a great time. But yeah, no, I mean, I don't know if you want to say anything else, but I can say that it's so far it's been a ride, man, and I want to keep it going.
no, it's been an awesome ride, and I mean, for everybody that's kind of been staying the course, like thank you for sticking with us. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
it hasn't always been, probably easy to listen to some of our episodes, especially probably. I mean, I still love the Matrix episode, and I know some of them like were kind of rough with the information because there's a lot of information. But we definitely are very thankful for a lot of you guys for sticking with us and being fans. You know, very thankful for Jeff who continues
Oh, that's right. I
to
forgot. Actually, I
email
just
us.
no,
Yeah.
that's right. I forgot. There was a couple of. Do you want to talk about that, or do you know, or do we want to like maybe do that another time? About because we were joking around because we just decided that instead of the fans corner, we're just going to call it Jeff's corner because until people started messaging us and being
We
like, "How
can
you
we
doing?"
can do it another time.
Okay, well maybe
But
we'll
I,
do it
I,
on
I
next
am I
episode.
am thankful for Jeff listening and emailing us and you know chatting our chats back and forth and everything. And yes, more of you can actually send us messages. Like we do respond when
Yeah, when that does happen, and also again, I know who it is. My brother. You need to stop sending us bullshit. Okay, I'm gonna call you out right now. Enough with the stupid messages that we've gotten. Okay, like I understand you're trying to be funny, but no more. I don't want to hear that anymore. Okay, I'm calling you out, Mike. I'm calling you out right now because again, we want you guys to be able to message us, but we don't want to hear like, oh, hey, look, dick face, and it's like, really, like,
you know
come on, get with the program. Like, yes, I know I'm calling you out, all right, but I'm just like, enough is enough. Like, we need to be serious here. If you want us to like, start talking with you, then like legit talk to
yeah,
us.
send us a legitimate message. We do want to chat. We will mention it on the show if you want. If you want us to mention it on the show. But if anything that we do talk about on the show, if you have a comment, like we'd love to go back and forth with you. That we are geeks. That's what we do. Like,
Right. And I mean, and again, actually, the only other thing I can think of right now is like, again, one thing is, the merch, right? So like, we've talked about it in the past, but like, Matt has been doing a really great job of like trying to keep up with the times, trying to do different designs and whatnot. I mean, we've mentioned in the past about the different pins with the shirts that line up. I mean, we've even talked about like trying to do like, let's say a hoodie with this like different designs on it, or like,
right.
a longer sleeve t-shirt or whatever the case is. Right. So there's different
I
things we
have
can do.
recently taken the holiday stuff off.
Oh,
Just
did you?
just FYI, but all of the other shirts and stickers and pins, hoodies, and all the other stuff are on our store, so you guys can check it out. Obviously, we don't want to harp on you, but it is on the store. The website I just updated today, so the link is actually correct on our website.
Instead of it being wrong, it was fine.
Um, but we do try to keep the prices kind of minimal.
Yeah, I mean,
You know,
we're not trying to. Again, we understand inflation sucks, okay? Because we living it too. It is
but
what
I
it is.
mean the things that we're using to keep the podcast going. I mean, to be completely honest with y'all, I mean it takes money,
And
and
yep,
you know our merch store is really the only location that will earn us even
a tiny sliver.
a tiny sliver of money, but it's really the only place that we have that can you know allow us to earn a little bit of money so that we can actually pay for Photoshop and pay for the website domain and the name and the hosting and everything. So
Oh, trust me, I know, and I know
that's coming up in March.
what is it exactly.
The website.
Oh, okay. I thought it was Photoshop because I'm not ready for that yet.
No, you do that one, but
No, actually, you're gonna have to tell me when that is. But anyways, we'll talk about that later. But anyways, guys, we appreciate you. We love you guys. I really hope you enjoy this episode in the next year as well. And until next time,
stay geeky.